Wow, look at this room. Beautiful. Whoa. Wow. Thank you, everybody. So nice. I love Ohio. You know, I worked in Ohio for a long time. Right down the road, Swifton Village, great place. I came here with my father. We bought it. We fixed it. We made it beautiful. We sold it, made a lot of money. Then, after we left, it went down the tubes, but that can happen. It went down the tubes, but we did great, and it was one of my early real estate deals, and it gave me a lot of confidence. So I can say that Cincinnati and Ohio gave me a lot of confidence, and here I am. Here I am. I will say he endorsed me, and he's been terrific, but Rob Portman has really been good to me, and I appreciate it. And the Senator's got a run against Ted Strickland, who has not done a good job for Ohio. I will say that. He has not done a good job for Ohio, so you're going to do what you have to do come November. And as far as Donald Trump is concerned, I'm going to be back here many, many, many times, okay? I'm going to be back here so much. You're going to be so sick of me. Please, 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 don't let him come back anymore. No, we're going to have a good time, and we're going to win Ohio. We're doing really well right now. We haven't started. And, you know, they were saying about, because I financed my primary campaigns, you know that, over $50 million. My own money. I don't know. So far, we're doing well, though, right? Have I been a good messenger? We have a movement. You know what Newt said is, we really have a movement going. This is a movement like people have never seen before. This was set up recently. Look at this place. And by the way, just so you understand, I say this for the press, not for you, because you don't have to care. But we have a 2,000-room overflow over here or over there. So, and we're on that camera. So the people in the overflow room, I love you just as much as these people. They just are better at real estate, right? And we have thousands of people outside trying to get in. And what I'm going to do is when we're finished here, we're going to come over and say hello to the people in the overflow room, right? We have to do that. So we'll come over. We'll come over and see you for a little while. We have all the time we want. We're going to do this the right way, and we have all the time we want. But I appreciate all of you, all of the overflow, and all of the people. We put speakers outside for the people outside. We have tremendous crowds no matter where we go, and it really is. It's a movement. No matter where we go, we have crowds like nobody's ever seen before. The biggest crowds. Thank you, too, darling. Thank you. Thank you. And I just heard the news, because it just happened, as you know, with the Attorney General of the United States saying, no problem. No problem. No problem. You know, I wrote out a couple of things about Hillary, crooked, so crooked. She made so many false statements. Is she going to be brought before Congress or something? Is something going to happen? Is something going to happen? Because it's a disgrace. Hillary Clinton claimed that the reason for her illegal use of a private, insecure email, right? She claimed this was that it was more convenient to use just one device. Oh. The fact is, the FBI director said Hillary used several different servers, even though she said it was one, and numerous mobile devices to send and read emails. In other words, Hillary's secret email server existed for the reason we all know, to keep her emails from ever being read by the public, had nothing to do with just wanting to use one device, okay? We understand that, but that's not what she said. She said something very different under oath. She said something very different to everybody. Now, by the way, and how about the 33,000 emails that were wiped out? 33,000! How can you do 33,000 emails and it was wiped out? All right. In a testimony to Congress, Hillary Clinton said she turned over all of her related emails, right? She said that. I saw that. The FBI director said Hillary failed to turn over several thousand work-related emails, including emails that were classified, right? Rigged system, folks. Remember, I used to say it. I'm the one that brought that word up. Now everybody's using it. Bernie Sanders is rightfully using it because, honestly, what they did with him was not good. Not good. Now we have false statement number 3. And there are many. I just don't want to bore you with too many of these because, you know, one of those things. In her testimony to Congress, Hillary Clinton said there was nothing more classified on my emails, either sent or received, right? She said that. I heard it. You heard it. We all heard it. The FBI director said Hillary had sent or received more than 100 emails with classified information, including emails with confidential, secret, and top secret information, right? That's what they said. But she didn't say that. Benghazi also. Hillary said fact number 4. These are all lies. We say lie, 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 lie. Lie. Dirty, rotten liar, right? Hillary said her private server, that's what it is. And you know, I'll tell you something, folks. I'll tell you something. You know when it's going to be set straight? In November, you're going to get out and vote. It's going to be set straight. Because when you look at terrorism, when you look at her decisions, when you look at the fact that she has got such bad decision-making ability, when you look at what's gone on during Obama's years, look at what's going on with radical Islamic terrorism. We have a president and her, except that I sort of shamed her into it, okay? Just like I shamed her into not approving TPP, but if she ever won, she'd approve that so fast, and that will do to you worse than what NAFTA did to you, okay? But she has got bad judgment. And you know who said that? Bernie Sanders. That Hillary Clinton has bad judgment. And number one, it's illegal what she did here, but it's also bad judgment. What'd she do it for? She knows why. Most of the people here know why. False statement number 4. Hillary said her private server was secure with numerous safeguards. They had no security breaches. No security breaches. Now they're saying everybody, you know, does anybody have her information, you know? You know what's interesting? I've always heard that once an email gets sent, it's always out. You can really never wipe it out. I don't think anybody's looked too hard. Because when you wipe out 30,000 emails, I hear 33,000, actually. I hear 2 numbers, 30 and 33. Pick your choice. What difference? When you wipe out 30,000 emails, 30,000. Now, I've always heard that if you, like, are in litigation and everything else, there's no way of really expunging those emails. You can't get rid of them. They're always with you if you have the right people looking. There are probably a couple of super geniuses in this room that probably would know exactly how to find those 30,000 emails. I don't think they look too hard. Does that make sense to anybody? I've always heard you can find. You just can't get rid of them. Okay. The FBI director said it is possible that hostile actors gained access to Hillary's personal email account and said she used her secure, and think of this, she used her insecure email account and the email while traveling abroad in territory of sophisticated, and these are highly sophisticated adversaries, right? The FBI director also said hackers successfully breached the email accounts of Hillary's friends. Okay? They breached it to friends. Some friends. Our enemies likely have a blackmail file on her, which actually should disqualify her for even running for office, right? You know, when you think about it, right? And then, in her testimony to Congress, Hillary Clinton said her attorneys conducted a rigorous review of her emails and said they went through every single email. But the fact is, the FBI director said the lawyers doing the sorting for Secretary Clinton in 2014 did not individually read the content of all of her emails before destroying them. What's going on, folks? What's going on? I mean, it's very sad. You know, it's very sad. More. It's more. But, you know, we have a crooked system, we have a rigged system, we have a dishonest press. Let me tell you, I was in North Carolina last night. I have to say, because I just love doing it. Thank you. I love you too, man. It's a guy, but I love him. I love him. I love everybody here. I don't care. I don't care. But we have a rigged system. We have a crooked system. I mean, we have a crooked system. But I was in talk about the press, okay? I love talking about how dishonest they are. If you're a Republican, you're a conservative. And I've heard it for years, but I had no idea. And when I was running and bing, 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 knocking out one after another, right? Am I doing a good job for you folks? So, no, I'm knocking out one after another. So when I'm out running, and it was bad. I thought it was unfair. But, you know, they had 17 people that basically they didn't like too much. Me, they liked the least by far. And they'd hit you. But now it's all toward me. And I watch and I say things like, there's a guy on Meet the Press called Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd. Does anybody ever? The guy was dying on Meet the Press a year and a half, a while ago. He was dying. Nobody watching Meet the Press. In fact, they were talking about taking him off everything else. Never treated me fairly. And then what happened was he called me and he wanted me to do an interview. And I did it. And it was one of the highest rated interviews in the history of Meet the Press. But these are disloyal people. So after about 2 days, he forgot about it. And then he did a little bit more, and Meet the Press does fine right now. I'm not going to do any more interviews with him, but because I watched him. So I watched, like, yesterday, and I made the statement, something to the effect, I was talking about terrorism, and I said, Saddam Hussein is a bad man. You heard this, right? Right? You heard this. He's a bad man. Now, they wanted me to talk last night. I spoke for 106 minutes. Long time. Long time without notes, without papers, without anything, standing up in front of 4 or 5 networks that are going. So I said last night, I'm not reading, and no teleprompters. I do like teleprompters, actually. It's a lot easier. Teleprompters. Let somebody come up and do what I do, right? Of course, I'd have about 12 people instead of 7,000 people. But I said, very simple, I said, Saddam Hussein is a bad man, bad guy. And I said it 3 or 4 times. Really bad, because I know what they're going to do. I said, but one thing he's good at. They said this last night. Now, they wanted me to talk about Hillary for 160, like for hours. I said, I went 15 minutes. I went a long time talking about it. I read whole things. I wrote a whole thing. I mean, she's crooked Hillary. That's all you have to know. She's crooked as hell. No. It's unbelievable. So, no, but listen. So after a while, we want to talk about terrorism, right? Because we'll beat Hillary. If we beat Hillary, what difference does it make? As she would say, what difference does it make? Makes a big difference. What difference does it make? Remember the famous statement, green dress? Okay. So, green dress? Yeah, green dress. No. She said green pantsuit. So look, listen. So last night I said, and it was an unbelievable crowd in North Carolina, standing ovations all over the place. But I said, bad guy, Saddam Hussein, bad guy. Then I said again, Saddam Hussein is a bad guy. But he did one thing well. He killed terrorists, right? That's okay. Just a quick statement. But I wanted to emphasize, because I know if I didn't emphasize, they'd say, I like Saddam Hussein. So I said it, I think 3 times, bad. In fact, I started repeating myself. I said, I don't like that. People are going to say, is that guy okay? So what happened, I said it very strongly, bad person. Okay, now it's over. And we talked about terrorism. We talked about trade. We talked about terminating Obamacare and replacing it with something great, which we're going to do. We talked about getting rid of Common Core and bringing our education locally and taking it away from Washington. We talked about borders. We talked about building a wall, right? We talked about our depleted military, right? We talked about our very depleted military. Build a wall. That's all right. Don't worry, we're going to build a wall. Don't worry about it, okay? We're going to build a wall. Gonna be a real wall. Such a low ceiling. Oh, we're going a lot higher than that. And every time they fight us on that wall, it gets 10 feet higher, folks. Believe me. Believe me. No, we're going to stop. We're going to stop the drugs from coming in. You know, just in case you didn't know. So the Border Patrol agents, 16,500 Border Patrol agents endorsed Donald Trump. They know what's going on. They know what's going on. And their job is much easier now than when they're with me. Because when they're with me, they're going to be working hard. Right now, they just stand there and say, oh, go on through. Hello. Go on through. Welcome to the country, right? We'll take care of you for the rest of your lives. So it's a lot different. And also Sheriff Joe. We love Sheriff Joe. Sheriff Joe endorsed Donald Trump right at the beginning. Right at the beginning. So we have a situation, right, where we go on and we continue to go on and we continue to make speeches and we continue to waste time because the politicians aren't listening, right? They're not listening. But I made a speech, and this speech last night was good. And what happened? I wake up in the morning, and you had to see this crowd. This crowd was unbelievable, the energy. But all the crowds have it. I wake up, I turn on the television. Donald Trump loves Saddam Hussein. He loves Saddam Hussein. And I was just asked a question by the Cincinnati Enquirer inside. Mr. Trump, is it true that you love Saddam Hussein? Essentially, like sort of that, you know. I said, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. So that's the narrative that goes around. I actually put a press release out. And now the people that saw it say that was great, but they are liars. These are bad people. These are bad people. And what I did say is that he was good at one thing. He was really good at killing terrorists. He didn't wait around. Do you think they gave the terrorist trials that lasted 18 years? And then after 18 years, if they had the right lawyer, they erect a statue in honor of the terrorists, right? Not with Trump. So I said, bad guy, really bad guy, but he was good at one thing. He killed terrorists. Next day, Donald Trump loves Saddam Hussein. I don't love Saddam Hussein. I hate Saddam Hussein. But he was damn good at killing terrorists. And now terrorists, the people that want to be terrorists, they go into Iraq. And I said last night, it's the Harvard University. It's the Harvard of terrorism. That's where you want to learn how to be a terrorist. You go into Iraq. Before, boom, you're a terrorist. Boom. Look at the problems we have right now. We are a very unsafe nation. We are allowing people to pour into our country. We're allowing people to pour into our country. We have no idea who they are. These are people coming from the Middle East. We're taking Syrian refugees. By the way, I have a bigger heart than anybody, and we'll work with them, and I'll get other people to put up the money because we owe $19 trillion. And now with the kind of budgets that get passed in this country, we're going up to $21 trillion. We don't have the money, but I'll get the Gulf states to put up the money, and we'll supervise it. And we will build wonderful as it can be, in Syria, safe havens. We'll build safe zones, and we'll keep them there. We don't want them here. We don't want them here. They're moving people into Ohio that you people don't even know about. They're moving people into Ohio that very well, this could be one of the great Trojan horses of all time. They're moving people into Ohio like nobody's ever seen, and every state. And you don't know, and your government officials don't know, and nobody knows what the hell is happening to our country. And we have a president that won't issue the words radical Islamic terrorism, and it's a real problem. It's a real problem. And if you don't say what the problem is, you're never going to solve the problem, right? So I watch these media people, very dishonest people, and I watched that, and then I also watched this. So I get these standing ovations. It was on all three. I think it was on Fox Live, and Fox was actually very nice to me, I must say. But it was on Fox Live. It was on CNN Live. CNN's terrible to me, terrible. No, they're dishonest. I mean, you ever see it where they'll have like 7 people, and I'll have Jeffrey Lord. I love Jeffrey Lord. But I don't watch it anymore because, you know, in life, when you don't like something, when something's unpleasant, don't watch it. You turn something else, okay? That's what I do. People don't believe it. I don't watch anymore. When people treat you unfairly, just turn your back and go someplace else. Or knock them on their ass, one or the other. Okay? So, I mean, CNN over the weekend, I'll give you an example. So one of my guys, who's married to a Jewish woman, this is a very fine person, Dan Scavino. He put out a tweet talking about crooked Hillary Clinton. And on the tweet was a star. It's a star. Like a star. And I said, oh, because when I looked at it, I didn't think anything. All of a sudden, it turned out to be, in the minds of the press only, because it could have been a sheriff's star, could have been a regular star. My boy comes home from school, Barron. He draws stars all over the place. I never said, oh, that's the Star of David, Barron, don't. So, it's a star. Have you all seen this? It's a star. And it actually looks like a sheriff's star, but I don't know. And behind it, they had money. Oh, but there's money behind it. So actually, they're racially profiling. They're profiling, not us. Because why are they bringing this up? Why do they bring it up? Because, so anyway. So Dan is a wonderful guy, a really good guy. I didn't get angry at him. I said, Dan, that's a star. Don't worry about it. He said, oh, I'm so... CNN, from morning till night, bigger than the FBI with Clinton, who's crooked as you-know-what. Bigger than the FBI, all weekend long. CNN, dishonest as hell. CNN, morning to night. I have tweets where they're saying, CNN won't talk about anything but the star. They say, it's the Star of David, all right? I have a son-in-law who's Jewish, Jared, who's a great guy. My daughter is Jewish. I have grandchildren that are Jewish, okay? And I love them. I love them. And these are great people. Ivanka married a Jewish guy who's brilliant, who's wonderful, who's got a great heart. They have kids, beautiful kids, beautiful kids. So they took this star, could have been a star for anything. To me, it was just a star. But when I really looked, it looked like a sheriff's star. But CNN started this dialogue going, it's the Star of David. And because it's the Star of David, Donald Trump has racist tendencies. These people are sick, folks. I'm telling you, they're sick. They're sick. And I'll tell you, someday I'm going to tell you the real story of CNN, but I'm not going to tell it yet. But they're sick. I don't watch it. Don't watch it. You know what? Don't watch it anymore. And I have to say, Fox is tough on me. Bill O'Reilly, a lot of these guys. But at least they're fair. You know, they're tough, but they're fair. And MS, nobody watches MSNBC, so I can't tell you. No, I mean, nobody watches it. But I think they're better. I hear they're better than CNN. Okay? They call CNN the Clinton News Network. Clinton, think of this, but think of it, seriously. So the star, which is a star, not the Star of David. When they told me the Star of David, I said, you gotta be kidding. How sick are they? Actually, they're the ones with the bad tendencies when they can think that way. They're the one. Then they said, remember what I said, but there's money around the stars. And therefore, you know what that represents. These are sick people. They're bad people. They're bad people. And what you do is don't watch CNN anymore. I don't watch it anymore. I don't watch, and they've done it. I like Anderson Cooper. I like a couple of the people. But mostly it's just negative. And they sit around a table. They talk badly about Donald Trump. What's to talk badly about? You know, it's very interesting. We started off with 17, and here I am. You and me, and look what we've done together, right? Look what we've done together. What's so bad? What's so bad? What's so bad? So we have unbelievably dishonest media. So think of that. Yeah, so you have the star, which is fine. You shouldn't have taken it down. You know, they took the star down. I said, too bad. You should have left it up. I would have rather defended it. Just leave it up and say, no, that's not a Star of David. That's just a star. I saw something about corrupt Hillary, corrupt Hillary. But she sent it out. They said, oh, this is... She's the one that started the dialogue. You know why? Because she wanted to get off the FBI. And you know who got hurt worse by the FBI than anybody? Bernie Sanders, because he was waiting for the FBI to make him the nominee, and it didn't work out. And he's the other one. You know, he copied my language a little bit, but he was starting to say with the superdelegates that the system is rigged. And you know what's happening? They're doing polls. I just saw a poll. 22% of the Bernie Sanders voters are coming to Trump. It's interesting. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? And we're having a good time. Let me just tell you. The other thing I got criticized last night, I thought it was really one of the better speeches. You know, I make good, hey, do I give good speech? Right? But I thought it was one of the better speeches. The place was packed. You know, they never show how many people. By the way, can you imagine if I ever had an empty place? It'd be the biggest story in the history of the news business. The place was packed, right? Everybody was having a great time, considering the subject is no good. Because the subject is about our country. And our country's in trouble. Between the debt, between the joblessness. And let me tell you, with the phony 5% numbers that you hear about unemployment, it's a phony number. It's a phony number. It's a number that when somebody looks for a job, and I don't want to have you raise your hand because you may be embarrassed. I'd be a little embarrassed. Somebody looks for a job, and they give up. And they're great people. They're unbelievable. They've worked all their lives. They can't find a job, right? And they give up. Now they're considered statistically employed. So we show this phony number. And on that, I don't blame Obama so much because, frankly, this was to make presidents look good and make politicians look good, which is not an easy thing to do, okay? Because they want to show, oh, how wonderful the economy. So just as I was getting off the plane today, we announced trade deficit numbers for the month, which were like almost record-setting. We have trade deficits that are worse than ever before. All I've done for years is talk about trade deficit, trade. I used to talk about Japan. Now I talk more about China, but it's still Japan. It's everybody. It's everybody. We don't make good deals with anybody. But last night I was talking about trade because I love it. It's my favorite subject. That and strengthening our military and taking care of our vets. They're my favorite subject. No, they're my favorite subjects. Other than my children or my grandchildren. I could talk about my grandchildren. Let's see. He was 39 minutes in the back of a plane talking about his grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, the president is going to talk about his grandchildren. Well, I have two. He has two. I have 8. He has 2. But he talked about how long are you going to talk about them? I'll bet they're beautiful. 2 beautiful children. So he says, they're beautiful. They're really smart. They're really good. I love them so much. They're unbelievable. You know, one is brand new, beautiful little baby. Okay, after about a minute, what can you talk about? Oh, you can say, here's a picture, look. Okay, so that's 1 minute out of the 39-minute time, right? Then we talk about golf, right? So you say, Jack Nicklaus, who endorsed me. I love Jack. Jack, he's the greatest. Jack. Did you know Jack endorsed me? Do you know how young Jack was when he won the Ohio State Championship? Jack Nicklaus. He is the greatest guy, and he's a friend of mine. And he endorsed me. I didn't ask for the endorsement. I don't want to do that. I feel like sort of guilty when I ask these people for endorsements. I don't want to do that. Jack endorsed me. I said, thank you, Jack. I appreciate it. He said, well, you're going to do a great job. You're going to shake things up. Now, when you talk about winners, is Jack a winner, right? Did you see U.S. Open was on the other day? I think Jack Nicklaus was in the top 10, like, I think it was 18 times. He was in the top. I've never seen anything like it. His record's unbelievable. He won it 4 times. Top 10, 18 times. I mean, this guy is a winner, right? So when I get endorsements from Jack Nicklaus, Bobby Knight. Bobby will be speaking at the convention. We have so many people. We have such a great convention planned. But I just have to go back. So this is the final thing. So last night I made a great speech, standing ovation, everyone went crazy. Nobody talks about the crowd. Every time I go home, my wife says, how was the crowd? Again, they didn't show. They never show the crowd. I tell you, they only show when we have protesters. I love my protesters. Don't we have any damn protesters today? Because when we have protesters, you think you have one? No, he's too. No, he's friend or foe? Friend or foe? He's friend. Okay, but I love my protesters because the cameras spin around in angles that you wouldn't believe. They do somersaults around to it. They look like a sausage. Because my first 2 speeches, I had no protesters. And every time I went home, big crowds. And every time I went home, I'd say, did you see the size of the crowd? No, I didn't. Now, you can hear the size. Like last night, you heard the size, right? Many, many more than the president and Hillary got. But, so people would say, well, I hear it. You know, they hear that burr, you know, that sort of humming, sort of, that's not like from 12 people. But we have this treadmill. So what happens is, last night, we had a great evening in North Carolina. We're going to win North Carolina. We're doing great there. We're going to win Ohio. We're doing great here. By the way, the section I just left last week, wonderful congressman and his wife, and I said to him, I won't use them. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I said, did you endorse me? He said, even if I don't like you, I would endorse you. You know why, Mr. Trump? You have a 29-point lead in this section of Ohio. 29 points. I said, you're right. You have to endorse me. We're going to take care of our miners, and we're going to take care of our steel workers. Hillary's not. She's going to put you out of business because if she ever won, she would sign TPP, which will make NAFTA, which was signed by her husband, which the worst, in my opinion, the worst trade deal in the history of this country, and it's not even close, signed by Bill Clinton. And he didn't suffer from it. It was everybody that followed him that suffered from it. Where your jobs are moving, I look at your jobs where they're moving down to Mexico, right? They're moving to Mexico, one after another. They're moving to Mexico. China's coming in, dumping the steel, making it impossible for your steel plants. They're devaluing their currencies. We do nothing about it. Folks, I'm going to do so much about it. It's going to be so easy. It's going to be so easy. It's going to be so easy. So last night, we had this time. And then I wake up and I hear, number one, I love Saddam Hussein. I hate Saddam Hussein. But I love Saddam Hussein, according to the press, because they're dishonest as hell. They heard what I said. And number two, and they said it very, very strongly, they said, he should have spoken about Hillary Clinton longer. Now, I wrote out like 4 pages that I wrote out, and I read it, point by point by point. And after a long time, I don't know, many, many minutes, I got thousands of people. And this really stupid guy, Chuck Todd. I won't use his name. I refuse to use his name. I refuse to call him Sleepy Eyes. I'm not going to call him Sleepy Eyes anymore. But he's talking about he had an opportunity to hit Hillary Clinton. Did you see what I did to her last night? I just went, am I correct? I mean, it got to a point. I was hitting her so hard. And the problem is I'm a professional. And I'm hitting her so hard. And I know it doesn't mean anything because the system is rigged and it's fixed and it's broken. So I'm doing it, and I'm doing it because I feel I have to do it. And it's sort of boring to do it, to be honest with you. So I didn't want to, and I wanted to get on to the military and the vets. I wanted to get on to these other subjects. I wanted to get on to terror, okay? Because we are going to experience things that you won't even believe, folks. Watch the predictions. Lots of predictions, right? And I wanted to get on to terror. And one of the reasons the women are liking me a lot lately is because, thank you, thank you, because they feel I'm going to keep our country safe. I'm going to keep our country safe. And they love Ivanka, and they love Melania. And Melania and Ivanka and Eric and Tiffany and Don are going to be speaking at the convention. So we're going to... And by the way, so just to finish, by the way, so I get hit this morning like, he had the opportunity to go after... Everyone said I made a great speech. I'll tell you how bad my speech was last night. CNN covered it from point to point without a commercial. Fox covered it practically from beginning to end. Others covered it from... That's how bad my speech was yesterday. That's how bad. If it were bad, folks, these guys, they don't care about polls. They don't care about anything. They only care about one thing. What's the one thing? Ratings. Ratings. So I made a speech last night that some of the folks gave an A to, some of them gave an A+ to, but when I saw NBC, Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd this morning, he said, he had a chance to really go after Hillary Clinton. Oh, what I did to her. But, you know, after a while, we have to talk about other things. Okay, so here's the story. We're going to make America great again. We're going to make America great. We're going to take our country back. For everybody, not for us. Not for this room. Not for this room, not for the overflow room. Not for the people outside. We're going to take our country back for everyone. We're going to take it back for African-American youth who have a 59% unemployment rate, by the way. 59%. We're going to take it back for African youth who have a 59% unemployment rate and have no chance. They have no chance in our society. You know who I just spoke to? Big Don King. Big Don King. Just spoke to him 10 minutes ago. I said, Don, I'd love you to speak at the convention. Because you know what? You beat the system. And he's a friend of mine. Big Don, greatest boxing promoter of all time. In fact, somebody said, and Mike Tyson endorsed me, as you know. And Don King endorsed me. You know what Don King did? He owns a newspaper. He endorsed Donald Trump for president, Bernie Sanders for vice president. How do you like it? He put a big ad in the paper, his paper. He wants Bernie Sanders for vice president. I said, that's a new one. That's Big Don King. So, wow. I like that too. We like Newt. And I'll tell you what. Newt has been my friend for a long time. And I'm not saying anything, and I'm not telling even Newt anything, but I can tell you, in one form or another, Newt Gingrich is going to be involved with our government. That I can tell you. Okay? He's going to be involved. He's smart. He's tough. He gets it. And he says, I'm the biggest thing he's ever seen in the history of politics. And now, Newt's going to be involved if I can get approval from his wife. That may be tough, but that's okay. And, you know, I have somebody else very special here. So I have wonderful children. And, you know, I'm lucky. They were smart. They were born smart, okay? They were smart. God was good. And they went to great schools. And they did well. And they're in business, and they do well. And they feel so strongly about what I'm doing. They don't even like it in terms of doing it themselves. They love what they're doing. And my one boy is here, Eric Trump. Eric. And I'm very proud of Eric. He's done a great job in the real estate business. Now I threw him into this political business. I don't know. He's doing a damn good job, but he loves the real estate. And you know what I did? Let me tell you a little story. I love this. I love this crowd. Isn't it nice when you don't read from a speech? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. Or Hillary with the teleprompters every single time. And whether you go north and south or east and west, Donald Trump is a bad person. Donald Trump made a lot of money in Atlantic City, but he hurt the little people. She calls it the little people. He hurt the little people. He didn't. Made a lot of money. And government, what they did. I'll tell you. Did you see that sham? I left 7 years ago. But she goes this. And then after a little while, do you ever notice after about 12 minutes, people start leaving? We can't do that. The nice part is, let me tell you. So I go to Scotland. And I know I'm going to get killed if I go to Scotland because the press is so dishonest. I went there to make sure that my boy, who I bought Turnberry 4 or 5 years ago, and we're doing this massive renovation, just like we're going to be opening the old post office in October. We're a year ahead of schedule. I could open it sooner, but I want to get it as close to the election as possible. Does that make sense to you? In fact, I was going to open it in August. I'm delaying the opening because I want it to be so close, because when I open it, even if I delay it a month or two, the hotel's going to open sooner. But I want to say, we're more than a year ahead of schedule, and we're under budget, and the product is even better than I said it was going to be, right? Maybe I'll open it on November 7th, the day before the big day. Oh, we're going to have, and the press will be there. They'll be there by the hundreds, but they won't say we're under budget. They won't say we're ahead of schedule. But that's okay. People know. But what happened is we have children, and I want to support my children. I think I've been a good father, and I want to support my children. So I put Eric Trump, I like individual things. Ivanka's been great. Don's been great. Tiffany's just starting now. She just is graduating from college. Barron has great potential, but he's 10, you know. But he's got great potential. But I put my children, as they grow a little bit older, in charge of different jobs. And I put Eric in charge of the Great Turnberry Resort in Scotland, where they home of the British Open, which now they call the Open Championship. And Eric spent the last year going back and forth. He'd spend 2 days over there, then come back, then go back and fight with contractors, and he got great contractors, and they did an unbelievable job. I've been hearing about it. So I said, you know, if I go over there, these dishonest, horrible human beings are going to say, Trump went over to play golf. Trump in the middle of a campaign. I can't do that, but I have to support my children, right? Do you agree? If you were... So I said, you know what? I want to fly over, and I want to fly back. And I want to support my son. So what happened, but just to show you how just to show you how dishonest Hillary Clinton is, and the press. So I go out, we have the bagpipes, we have everything, we have a ribbon cutting on the 9th tee, on the beautiful 9th tee overlooking the ocean, and the beautiful lighthouse, one of the greatest courses anywhere in the world. We rebuilt the course, we rebuilt everything, we rebuilt the hotel, it's great. And that was the day that Europe had the big turn where UK left, right? They left. And I said, not bragging, but I have a pulse, right? That's what we need. We need somebody with touch. We have horrible people that have no touch, no brain, no nothing. So you had Obama saying, if that happens, they're going to go to the back of the line. I would say that wasn't a great... I think Obama might have been the reason that they broke away. Okay? He doesn't help things. He actually said that the UK is going to the back of the line. Not a nice statement. Not a nice... Can you imagine if I said that? The back of the line? Oh, would I be killed for that statement? So he said they're going to the back of the line. Okay. Bottom line is, he asked me a lot of times. I said, no, I think they're going to break away. I think they want their independence. I think they're going to break away. I see what's happening with the migration. I see where countries are being forced against their will to take these people that don't want them. And instead of building these wonderful places where they can ultimately go back to their homeland, where they want to be anyway, they're just being forced. So Germany is a disaster right now. Sweden, parts of Sweden. I mean, things are really bad. So I said, I think they're going to... And by the way, the odds were 20% that I'd be right, 20%, because they said it's not going to happen. They're going to approve, and that's going to be the end of that. I was right. They broke away. They broke away. I was right. And then the next day they said, oh, Trump was right. The same thing could happen in the United States. Let me tell you, we're going to be right a second time, folks. It's going to happen again. Because we're tired of incompetent people. We're tired of incompetent leadership and incompetent people. And Hillary Clinton, I said, bad judgment, she's incompetent, okay? She's incompetent. The only good thing she's ever done is get out of trouble when anybody else would have been in jail by now. That's the only thing that I've ever seen her do that was a great job. I got to give her credit. I got to give her credit. I got to give Bill Clinton credit for going to that plane and saying for 39 minutes he talked about his grandchildren and he talked about golf. There's no way you could do that. I told you, 2 minutes for the grandchildren, 2 minutes for golf. We got 35 or 36 minutes left. What are we going to... Let's talk about Hillary. And Hillary then talks about, I think I'd reappoint the Attorney General. And you're waiting for a decision by the Attorney General. And you're saying you're going to give her a job. You're not allowed to do that. That's bribery, folks. And then the Attorney General comes out, as Newt said, but the Attorney General comes out. And the Attorney General says, no charges. That's bribery. Wouldn't you say? That's bribery. You're not supposed. She said she's going to reappoint the Attorney General, and the Attorney General is waiting to make a determination as to whether or not she's guilty. And boy, was that a fast determination. Wow. Should have waited, at least waited a little bit longer. Don't just come out with 1 or 2 sentences. Talk about it a little bit. So look, again, trouble. So here's what happened. So I go to Scotland. Beautiful. The weather was beautiful. The waves are crashing up on the rocks. We're opening the course, getting ready to cut a ribbon. We have so many press. We had over 400. Hope, the legendary Hope. How many? 400? 400. 450. It was unbelievable because they were all there for Brexit. And they were all there to see what was going to happen. Will the UK break away? And now that's about 6 hours old, so they're bored. They want the next story. So the next story is Trump. So I go there. And all of a sudden, I start hearing these things. What's Trump doing in Scotland? Well, he's playing golf. Okay, so I have a news conference. It was a great news conference. Even Newt said that was a great news conference, right? I did a good job, Newt? When Newt says I did a good job, he's a very critical guy. He sometimes says, I don't like what he's saying, but there I did a good job, right? Newt. So let me just tell you. So I'm answering. I said, any questions? So I'm not talking about any questions. And the place goes crazy. The cameras, I'm telling you, we had as big a group of media as you've ever seen. They all drove up, from London, different places. Everybody just converged on Turnberry. So I'm taking questions. One of the questions was, Mr. Trump, if the pound goes down, how will Turnberry do? So I say, I didn't bring this up. I said, look, here's what happens. If the pound goes down, Turnberry will do very well because a lot of people are going to travel to the UK. They'll come to Scotland. Turnberry's going to do very well if the pound goes down. Okay, period. That's it. I answered the question. Next day, it's in an ad by crooked Hillary Clinton, and I'm all over the place. But they don't show the question. Here's the thing. They sort of, did you hear Donald Trump? All he talked about was his resort. And they show me. They don't show the question. If the pound goes down, Turnberry's going to do very well. Okay? Then they gave me a golf club. I said, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to touch golf. I don't want to, I'm leaving. I inspected the hotel. I inspected the course. I said, Eric Trump, you did a great job. I'm getting the hell out of here now. Because I want to be back campaigning. I'm going to get out. Congratulations. My boy, I love you. Come up, Eric, come up. I love you, my boy. I love you. I said, that's my 6'6" boy, but he's always going to be my boy, right? So I said, Eric, I'm out of here. I'm going. I'm leaving. I got to go. But they said, Mr. Trump, would you like to hit the first ball? No, I don't want to touch your club. Because I know if I touch a club, these horrible, horrible human beings, plus the Hillary Clinton 1,000-people staff that she has, right, will come up with a clip of me holding a golf. So I don't want to touch it. So we cut the ribbon. I inspected the property. I'm very proud of the job he did. Unbelievable job. And I went around, and I got out of there. I was in Scotland one night. That's not easy. It's a long trip, right? I was there one night, and I was out of there. So here's what happens. The next day, the news comes on. Donald Trump, who went to Scotland in the middle of the campaign to play golf. But here's what's worse. They took my statement on the pound. If the pound goes down, Turnberry's going to do great. They don't know I'm answering a question. So everyone thinks I'm bragging, and I want the pound to go down. Okay, but here's the worst. So that crooked, disgusting group that works for Hillary Clinton. Now remember, I never touched a club. They show me hitting a ball. Donald Trump playing golf in Scotland during the, troubles and everything else of the world. And they put it in an ad. But the picture was from 2 years before at a different course. The only good thing, no, it's true. And they said playing golf at Turnberry. So 2 good things happened out of it. Number one, the head of Turnberry called me up. He said, sir, did you take an ad because we're being swamped with business? I said, really? That's good, right? That's good. And the other thing is the swing looked good. They didn't put one of my bad swings. I have them too. The swing actually looked good. So, Hillary, thank you very much. But you know what? How dishonest is that? So they show me playing golf at Turnberry, and I didn't play golf. I was 2 years, the picture was 2 years old, or more. In fact, it was more. You know how I can tell it was more? I was even thinner. I said, man, I like that. Actually, I never went too well because I love the swing and I look thin. Well, relatively thin, okay? But I just want to say, this young guy, my daughter, my other son, Don, my wife, who puts up with a lot with all of that we're going on. I mean, this is big stuff. This is big stuff. But my family has been so, my sister, who's incredible, my sister, who's a federal judge, Court of Appeals, my other sister, Elizabeth, my brother, Robert, who's a great guy. I have one brother who passed away, but I have great children. Tiffany has been so amazing. My kids, my family have been so unbelievable, and this is not easy for them. They go out. Mostly people love it, but some people don't. You know, the one thing that's interesting, and I told this to Eric on the plane, my wife said, you know, when you go out, everybody loved you. Now most people love you, but there's people that don't. You never had those people before. I said, but we have to make America great again. And ultimately, hopefully, my biggest dream is to have those people love me too. Not because of me, but because we're going to do such a great job. Does that make sense? Right? So, I'll introduce Eric Trump. Eric Trump did an unbelievable job. He's doing an unbelievable job. And he was pushed into the world of politics, not because he wanted it, but because I said, good luck on television tonight. You're doing the show. So Eric Trump, everybody.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you. We have some good fans over there. You know, my father is just the greatest. I mean, I truly say this from the bottom of my heart. I love him to death. As a family, we love him, and thank you for loving him. You know, as a family, we are so proud of him. You know, he is going to win this. We are going to win this. He is going to make America great again. We are going to beat crooked Hillary Clinton. There's no question about it. We're going to bring this country back. So thank you guys so much for all the support from our entire family. Thank you. We love you, Ohio.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. And thank you to your brothers and sisters. And thank you to everybody. And the family has been just incredible. So when I was getting off the plane, I just wanted to tell you a couple of good things, a couple of bad things, and, you know, about the country, what's going on. Terrorism is at just a horrible, horrible level. People don't feel safe. Polls are coming out saying they feel more unsafe right now than they have at any time for many, many years. We're going to make you feel safe again. Remember that. You're going to feel safe again. I'm very, very proud of the fact that when we ran, that in the history of the Republican Party, I got the most votes ever by a lot, almost 14 million votes, more than anybody that's ever run. And I'm very proud of that fact. And maybe more important, and I want to thank the RNC and Reince Priebus. He's been great. I have to tell you, Reince has been really great. And I mean that 100%. He's been so amazing. And he works hard. He'll fly. If there's an event in California, he will fly on that plane, and he'll be there. I say, weren't you just in Washington? Yes, I flew to be at the event. I mean, the guy is really terrific. But it was just announced that the Republicans, in terms of the primary voters, final count, 62% up from 4 years ago. It's unheard of. That's an unheard of number. That is an unheard of. Did you know that, Newt? That is an unheard of number. The Democrats, ooh, there was a mosquito. I don't want mosquitoes around me. I don't like mosquitoes. I don't like those mosquitoes. I never did. Okay, speaking of mosquitoes, hello, Hillary. How are you doing? So the Democrats were down with all the Bernie Sanders stuff and everything you hear and all this. And by the way, our crowds are so much bigger than his, not even close. But with all of the things you hear, the Democrats are down 21% from 4 years ago. Because there's no real enthusiasm. If they had enthusiasm for Bernie, But Bernie was outflanked by the establishment. He was really outflanked he never had a chance. And frankly, I wouldn't have had a chance except we were winning by such large numbers. If we didn't win, I mean, Florida, 21-point victory, won 66 of 67 counties. New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut. You look at all of these different places, Rhode Island, Maryland, Delaware. We had a group where we won every single county in every single state. In California, I got 78% of the vote, and there were still lots of names on there. And you know, when you have the largest number of votes in the history of the Republican Party, and we had 17 people running, folks. That's a big difference as opposed to 2 or 3 or 4. We had 17 people. So it's impossible to win that number when you have 17 people. And we won easily. More than Ronald Reagan, who we love, more than Richard Nixon, more than the Bushes, more than Dwight D. Eisenhower, who did have a lot to do with the Second World War victory, in all fairness, right? So we had a great thing. So that was a great thing. The bad part is this. In coming off the plane, I heard that our trade numbers are a disaster. A disaster. Getting worse than ever before. We're losing so much money. We have trade deficits that are so massive, not only with China, not only with Mexico, which is massive. I take my hats off to the leadership of Mexico for the job they've done on us. They treat us like we're babies. They treat us at the border and with trade. You ever see the companies that are moving to Mexico? I think I won Indiana largely because Carrier Air Conditioning Company. I love Indiana. Well, I also won because of the great Bobby Knight, right? Bobby Knight. I told you that story where Bobby called up. He said, "Sir, you got to run for president." That was a year before I did it. "You got to run for president." I said, "This is really Bobby Knight?" I didn't know Bobby Knight. And then when I ran and when I got to Indiana, somebody said, "Do you think you could ever get Bobby Knight?" I said, "I think so." And I pulled up his stack and I had his paper and I had his number. And he picks up the phone. He goes, "I've been waiting for you to call." He's a cool dude. He won 900 games. He won 3 championships for Indiana. He won the Olympics. He won the Pan Am Games. He had the last undefeated season in college basketball. He's a winner. Jack Nicklaus, total winner. And Jack, you know, in Ohio, I mean, to me, having his endorsement is so great. But Jack and Bobby, we have so many unbelievable champs endorsing. So many unbelievable champs. So here's the story, folks. We're going to turn it around. We're going to bring our jobs back to this country. And we're going to bring them back big league. We're not going to let companies leave our country without there being consequences. Consequences. As an example, when Carrier left, and they left 1,400 people, and those 1,400 people, many of them followed me all over Indiana. They love Trump because I'm the only one that spoke their language. They were fired like dogs. They were fired by a mid-level management guy. They had jobs, some of them for 30 years. They were fired viciously like you never saw anything like it. And fortunately, somebody had the cell phone, and we would have never said, I probably wouldn't be talking about it right now, and it was all over the news. And it made a big impact. And I've been talking about it long before I went to Indiana. These other guys just started talking about it when they arrived to try and win, because that was going to be the firewall. Remember the firewall? Trump is going to win New York. But Trump is going to win also Pennsylvania and these other states, Connecticut. We're doing great in Connecticut, too, by the way. But Trump's going to win all these states. We agree. But when we get to Indiana, that's the firewall. Trump's not going to win the firewall. And we won the firewall in a landslide. That was a big, big. And then everybody just said, you know what they said? We just can't take it anymore. We're leaving. They're gone. And that was the end of that, right? But we've had an amazing period of time. But what I would have told Carrier Air Conditioning, and I would, if I get there in time, maybe there's still, I would have said, enjoy your plant. Hot weather. Pretty hot up here right now, by the way, too. Hot weather. I said, enjoy your plant. Make lots of air conditioners. But when you start selling your air conditioners through a very strong border, because we're going to have a very strong border, and we want people to come in. I want people to come into the country. They're going to come in by the thousands, but they're going to come into the country legally, right? Legally. So I'm going to say, meaning myself or my rep, I always kid with this. I say to my wife, but I want to call Carrier. And she'll say, you're the president of the United States. You're not supposed to be calling an air conditioning company. I said, but it's so much fun, and I'm so good at this stuff. So I'll get somebody else. I'll get Carl Icahn to call. That would be pretty good. I have so many people endorsing us. But we call up Carrier. We say, enjoy your new plant. I hope you have great success. But every single time you make a beautiful air conditioner and you want to sell it to the United States, there's going to be a 35% tax on that air conditioner coming into this country. Okay? Now, a lot of conservatives, you know, these characters that have been fighting me, never Trump, oh, never Trump. These are people. Here's a guy, you talk about a great conservative, but he gets it. Some of these people don't get it. Never Trump. By the way, never Trump is disappearing rapidly. You heard about the 51 million? Anybody? Did anybody? Right? 51? Raised $51 million, right? 51 million. Even Newt couldn't believe that. Right, Newt? $51 million raised. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. And I just started really in the middle of, listen to these, it sounds like a football game. Newt, Newt, Newt. I don't know, Newt, are they booing or are they saying Newt? It's one of those names, right? No, they love Newt. They do love Newt. We all love Newt. Newt gets it. I'll tell you one thing, folks. I'm not saying it's Newt. But if it's Newt, nobody's going to be beating him in those debates. That's for sure. Right? Nobody. Nobody's beating our Newt in the debates. Yeah, we raised $51 million. And the Washington Post actually had a good story for the first time in a long time. They gave a great story. And it said 51 million. They can't even, nobody could believe it. And I only started like mid-June because they were beating me up. They said Trump was down. And I'm raising the money for the party. And I'm putting up a lot of my own money. Like I put up over 50 for the primaries. I'm putting up a lot of my own money. Okay. But here's what's going to happen, folks. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to be so successful. And when people call me, pundits, people that right up here on these platforms, look at all these people. Ugh, I can't stand them. But look. One of them called, who's here today, and said, Mr. Trump, what you've done is incredible. Sir, and this is a pretty liberal guy. I was surprised he called me sir, actually. Sir, what you've done is absolutely incredible. And honestly, I said, you know, it's not so incredible. I haven't won. They said, no, you don't have to win. You don't have to win. What you've done has never been done before in the history of politics. It's incredible. I said, let me give you a little clue. If I don't win, meaning the one person left, then I've wasted a lot of time and a lot of money. I haven't done a damn thing. That's the way I feel about it. That's the way I feel about it. Because we're not going to be able to lower your taxes. We're not going to be able to get you good health care. We're not going to be able to save your Second Amendment, which is under siege, by the way. And the National Rifle Association, the NRA, endorsed me with the earliest endorsement they've ever given to a candidate, okay? And Hillary Clinton wants to take your guns away. She wants to effectively abolish the Second Amendment. That's why they gave me the early endorsement, because she is unthinkable for the NRA, unthinkable. But all of these things are going to happen. So let me just finish by saying the following. I love Ohio. I love the people of Ohio. Go out and vote for Rob Portman. He's been terrific. Go out and vote for Rob. But I love the people of Ohio. And we're going to start winning again, folks. We don't win anymore as a country. We don't win on trade. We don't win with the military. You know, when I was young, we never lost a war, all of us. A lot of you my age. When we were young, I still feel young. Don't you feel young? But when we were young, we never lost a war. They used to say, we've never lost a war. Now we never win a war. We never win a battle. We never win anything. We have these idiots that get on television. We are going to attack ISIS in 48 hours. And when we attack, we're going to hit them from the rear. And we're going after Fallujah. And that will take place in exactly 2 weeks. And after that takes place, we're going to Ramadi, and we will hit the... Now what happens is they say, oh, I mean, the only problem is they can't believe anybody's so stupid to be saying all this stuff. So sometimes they don't believe it, and we can get away with it. Can you imagine, Newt, the great General George Patton getting on television to say when we're leaving Iraq? We are leaving on this date. So the enemy goes back and they say, nobody can be that stupid to say that. We don't really believe it, but you know what? Just in case Obama's serious, let's just pull back. Hey, you know, they don't want to be killed. Don't kid yourself. You know, they talk about they want to be killed. Trust me, they can live. They'd rather live. They'll have their time. But you know what? Pull back. Pull back. So now they pull back, and he left on that date. He didn't leave anybody behind. I didn't want to go into Iraq from the beginning. I said, you're going to destabilize the Middle East. But once you go in, the way he got out was unbelievable. Draws the line in the sand. The line in the sand is a violation. The line in the sand doesn't mean anything. Nothing means anything. We have a president who's terrible. We have a president who's right now, what he wants to do is, all he wants to do is campaign. He has fun campaigning. He has a good time campaigning. I want a president that's going to be focusing on knocking the hell out of ISIS. I want a president that's going to focus on making great trade deals so that China and us, we don't have a $505 billion a year trade deficit. I want a president that's going to create strong borders. I want a president that's going to keep criminals out of our country, people that kill us, people that are going around shooting people in the back. Jamil Shaw, great, a friend of mine, Jamil, shot in the face by a person that shouldn't be in this country. Kate, San Francisco, shot in the back by somebody that was thrown out of the country 5 times and probably got forced back in. We're going to have a safe country again, folks, and we're going to start winning again. We're going to win, and we're going to win so much. And I'm telling you, and I have fun saying this, but there's nothing fun about it because of what's going on. But we're going to win so much that the people of Ohio are going to call your representatives. They're going to call Matt Borges, head of the Republican Party. Good guy, by the way. Matt, you better win Ohio for me, Matt. They're going to call Matt. They're going to call Rob. They're going to say, you have to see the president. We're winning too much. We can't take it. We're not used to it. We're not used to winning this much. We're winning with our military. We'll knock the hell out of ISIS. We're winning for our vets. We're winning with health care. We're winning with the border. We're winning with the wall. We're winning on our Second Amendment. Mr. President, sir, you're winning too much. The people of Ohio can't stand so much winning. We're not used to it. And you know what? I'm going to say, I don't care, Rob. I don't care, Matt. We're going to keep winning because we are going to make America great again. Thank you, everybody. I love you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Ohio. Thank you, Cincinnati. I love Cincinnati.